Happy Saturday. We have a Saturday food support group. Hello, everyone. We honestly have had not too bad of a winter here yet. It's been a little bit of snow, but I know that some parts of at least the United States is getting inundated with snow. So my hearts go out to all of you. I hope you all are warm and safe and cozy. But we're going to start with somebody who's outside. Chris, I am so inspired by you on pretty much a daily basis, and I'm not exaggerating. If it's not a public post, it's a personal message on Instagram or somewhere, and you just light me up. And you have for, I think, years, at least a year that we've been in contact. And unfortunately, right now, you're going through a really tough time. And the fact that you are still an active daily inspiration to me just blows my mind. So, Chris, can you tell us where you're at with your thinking and with everything that's going on with you?
Yeah, so I struggling with my health right now with something that I thought was very simple. And unfortunately, with me, things are never that simple. And it's heartbreaking because what I'm feeling, but what the tests are revealing are two different things. So a recap.
That's hard.
I have I'll just do a quick recap.
Yeah, go ahead.
So for those that don't know me, I suffer with complex regional pain syndrome. And in 2019, I tweaked my knee. That's all I did. And I tore my meniscus, but we're talking about the most minor injury. It's just a 1 millimeter tear. That's it. Unfortunately, the pain was thousands of times magnified outside of that little tiny injury. And a normal person tears their meniscus that small, they don't even feel it. So they couldn't do anything for me. Numerous trips to the emergency room, doctor after doctor. This is before I knew. I got cortisone injections, and unfortunately, because nobody knew, I didn't know I had it. Because on the MRI and on the x-rays, all it showed was a very, very minor injury that wasn't even worthy of surgery because I have arthritis in my knees. So this is typical for someone that has knee arthritis. You're going to see little tiny tears. Unfortunately for me, things just took a turn for the worse. And I kept trying to tell the nurse, no, something's really, really wrong. This and that. She said, go for the cortisone injections. You'll feel better. Unfortunately, that spread my CRPS rapidly across my whole body. And I ended up with an allergic reaction to the actual cortisone steroid. So that just made me sicker. And
how long ago was this?
This was November 2019.
Yeah.
And this is why it's so difficult to live with this disease, because there's not enough research about it. And I feel stuck. So anyway, long story short, I was given a very, very bleak diagnosis that I may never walk again. I just had too much wrong. Well, I made it past all that. I made it past all of that, and I had such a good spell. I was doing good. I found the carnivore, and that was like healing me better. I got my mind back. I'm currently tapering off of medications. Still have permanent effects of CRPS. Obviously, there's no cure. Recently, I got COVID, and I went to urgent care for an earache. I didn't even know I had COVID. I went there for an earache. Well, the nurse looked in my ear and said, well, there's nothing going on inside your ear. I said, what do you mean? It's in my middle ear. I feel like I had all the feelings of an ear infection, throbbing, burning, pain. Says, well, I'm sorry, there's no ear infection there. You must have dysfunctional eustachian tubes. That's what it sounds like. And I agreed with that because I get a lot of popping in my ears. I felt like there was fluid, and I still feel like that, like there's fluid behind my eardrum. So I went on a course of antibiotics. I made it through COVID, all that, still having this problem with my ear. I fully recovered from COVID. I'm still struggling with my ear. So I went to the emergency room because now the pain just got so bad I couldn't take it. And of course, well, you don't look sick. You know, that's all I ever get. They're looking at my ear. There's no infection. They can't do anything. So I did take a course of antibiotics. I took antivirals to get rid of the COVID. I took a course of antibiotics because I did have a sinus infection on top of COVID. I'm still struggling with my ear. So I go to an ENT doctor and he sends me for a freaking CAT scan with contrast and without contrast because I'm having severe pain in my lymph nodes all down my neck. The pain is really bad, like just a gentle palpation of my lymph nodes. It hurts, but they're not swollen. It just hurts. And it feels like there's fluid behind my eardrum. So he sends me for a CT scan and I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to have an answer now. I go in the office and he says, there's nothing wrong with your ear. I said, what do you mean there's nothing wrong with my ear? He sent me for contrast in my neck. All my lymph nodes look fine. They're not fine. They hurt. So he says to me, well, and he showed me the scan. He showed me my eustachian tubes, which look open. Everything is black. So he said, if there was fluid behind that eustachian tube, we would expect to see it. There's nothing there that indicates that there's any fluid behind your eardrum. There's nothing there on this particular test that can tell me why your lymph nodes hurt. So he says to me, I think it's related to your CRPS. And I said, I disagree. I've lived with this condition for 3 years now. I know my body. This is not CRPS pain. So now I'm stuck and I don't know what to do next. No answers. Once again, now it's just terrifying to be in this position again because I can't live with this. This is not livable. This is worse than my leg. It's in my head. So.
And how long ago was this?
I've been suffering now since late September.
Yeah.
Some of the doctors I've seen are saying it may have been triggered by a viral illness and that it'll go away. It's not going away. I had one nurse look in my ear and say, oh my gosh, you have fluid pressing up against your eardrum. Well, which is it? So I had one nurse tell me what I think I'm feeling, what I know I'm feeling. And then I had an actual specialist say to me, you don't have anything pressing up against your eardrum. So it's just putting me in a really difficult position because it's terrifying to think that this could be CRPS doing this now, spreading, because it does spread to internal organs. I already have heart issues because of this disease. It's just awful. Like this doctor was just so, he said, well, the test doesn't lie. I said, I understand, but I'm not lying either.
Yeah.
Okay.
The pain doesn't lie.
The pain doesn't lie. My body is trying to tell me something, and I'm just not ready to sit here and just blame it on CRPS. This is different. It's not nerve pain. It's just different. I've got a swollen tonsil, and this same ENT doctor looked down my throat and in my sinus cavity and said, everything looks fine. My tonsil is swollen and it hurts. I mean, I don't know. So that's where I'm at. No answers once again.
But you're not there. You would have been there years ago.
Oh, that's where carnivore just saves the day. I'm doing just meat. I've eliminated the eggs and the cheese, and just so I can get more mental clarity to deal with this, because I know my body. I'm not going to just listen to just what one doctor says. Well, then we have to check something else.
Yeah. And I think that's what's so baffling to me about your story is that I know that you're suffering. And then I read your post and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm so enamored with your ability to, number one, keep fighting, and then to have this positive perspective on it. Like it really is amazing.
That's me. I'm just that way. It's horrible to feel like you have a raging ear infection, but there's no infection present. And some doctors do this to me. They see how complicated I am, and they just, but the CT scan didn't lie. They're according to those scans, there's no reason why I should be having this pain. According to my body's telling me something completely different. And this is not CRPS pain. So now I have to suffer with this until I just hope it passes. Like, this is where I start to lose trust in myself and in my body. And it's a fine line to walk because not every doctor is right.
Mm.
So I don't.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Andia, you wanted to jump in?
Well, Chris, I can't even imagine what you're going through. And I don't want my feedback for you to sound like I'm trying to save the day or rescue, because I have no freaking clue what that would be like. And I feel for you, and my heart is huge for you. You're going to be in my prayers. And I hope that you get clarity or answers, because that has to be the most effing frustrating thing. If I was sitting where you're sitting telling that story, I would want somebody to tell me about Dr. Joe Dispenza and his work. So I'm going to put a book in the chat and you can take it or leave it. But his story and what he did to heal, like, it sounds like that couldn't hurt any. Like, for you to hear his story and do the work that he teaches, I would, if I was in your position, I would want somebody to tell me about that. So I can't sit here and not say that. I'm not going to go into his story or anything like that, because I just want to respect your space right now. And I love you and thank you for sharing. And yeah, that is what I will say. Thank you so much. You're very strong. You're so much stronger, I think, than I would ever be dealing with that.
Yeah. You give me pain and I buckle immediately. I'm like, okay, all right, okay. That's the only way I've gotten through the last 3 years, is I have no pain.
Thank you, Andia. I actually follow Dr. Dispenza's protocol, and that's part of the reason, a lot of the reason, how I healed past like dire circumstances. I'm just tired. I am so tired. I'm just tired of I have a very expensive disease with nothing. Like, it's just so hard to thrive on a high maintenance disease with a low maintenance wallet, I'm not, just the thought of even accepting that it's in my ear canal now. Like, I don't think so. I'm not in denial about it, but I'm not ready to accept it either. Just doesn't make sense to me, because the same ENT doctor said, yeah, it sounds like you have eustachian tube dysfunction. I clearly do. And the fix for that is it's a very minor procedure. They go in and they drain the fluid out, but there's no fluid to be seen. So basically he's telling me the fluid I feel swishing around in my inner ear isn't there. It's my brain telling me it's there. It doesn't make any sense, because this coincides with COVID. It started about a week before COVID. Just doesn't make sense to me with the pain in my lymph nodes and all of that. So that's where I'm at. And it's so frustrating.
Well, I think you just gave hundreds of people the strength and the ability to keep fighting. And I hate that you're having to pave the way for us. And I wish I could say, yeah, I'm as strong as you are. But I really know, Chris, that if I had pain, I wouldn't be able to have these meetings. I wouldn't show up to a meeting. I
It's
wouldn't make
hard.
a post.
Yeah,
Like
it's hard
the
to
things that you
function.
do with pain amaze me.
Yeah, it's very, very, very difficult to function like this. And I don't understand why I have to suffer. Like, why me? This is supposed to be simple. Ear pain, you take an antibiotic, it's gone. You get fluid stuck behind your ear, you go in, you get it sucked out. But now a specialist is telling me no. Like, so now what? Now I have to go back on the chase again. More testing, more nonsense, and every contrast and IV I have triggers a CRPS flare up. So
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not spreading but with carnivore though, I will mention I'm not spreading as easily as I was. IVs used to make me flare and lose, I wouldn't be able to even use my arm. I had 2 IVs within a few days of each other recently. I had no flare up, nothing, which is incredible for me. So that's a
Wow.
win. I'll take.
Yeah. And honestly, like,
I'm going to be, I'm going to be fighting this now to try to figure out what it could be. I'm going to have to do more blood work and stuff, but it's so frustrating when you know and you feel something's wrong, but tests are telling you you're fine and you're not. It's just a lot on the mind. It really is. So
yeah. And I can't imagine where you would be if you were eating sugar and processed foods right now.
that's where I was when I first got sick, and it was not good. I had no control over my mind because I was in so much pain. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to turn. And I felt really bad for myself that, why me? Why can't I be fixed? And I don't feel that way anymore. I mean, I feel like crap because I'm in pain, but my mind is right, which is crazy. I'm not depressed or anxious. I'm just in a lot of pain. And there's only so much I can take. So
Yeah.
it's definitely different now.
Well, thank you. You are an absolute inspiration to me. And I think I speak for most of us here that you are in our thoughts and our prayers. I'm gonna have an extra mission this week to inspire you.
Thank you, Emily. I appreciate it.
All right. Talk to you soon. And next we have Andia. You had an update that you wanted to share real quick.
That's hard to follow.
I know. I didn't even think about that. I'm so sorry.
No, it's totally okay. Basically, the whole point of my update is just to kind of make the point that if I didn't have my eating on track, like I just have noticed in the last couple months, so last week I shared about toxi-free. So it's basically, for people who don't know, it's basically working on educating ourselves to make sure there's no toxins in our environment. That could be obesogens, all sorts of different things. Anyway, I just have noticed that my toxi-free journey has catapulted into like all of the things that, like little tiny things that were like, I wasn't making the changes because for just whatever reason, like super little, simple, small things. Like I'm talking about like, what's something dry erase markers. Okay. I got rid of the dry erase markers and now I have wax ones, which are actually so cool and funner than, it's funner a word, more fun than than markers. And I don't have the worry about the chemicals. I use a dry erase on a regular basis in my kitchen. So I wanted to make sure I am a lefty. So I'm like dragging my hand in the marker all the time. Anyway, little things like that. I have gotten rid, and I'm just like purging this week, the last 2 weekends, just purging things out of the house that I haven't been able to get rid of. I think like something finally unleashed, like, I was really just holding on to things. And also yesterday I went to physical therapy, and it's too personal to say why I was in physical therapy.
That's okay.
But basically, I didn't realize that I have been holding in emotions, things related to my job and all sorts of things, in my pelvic floor.
Oh,
And
wow.
I was just taught breath work to do to release and stretch that area. And then also randomly, I was really tight in my front right hip for some reason. I don't know where that came from. She said it's very likely tied to that. That area in my body is just, I guess, where I hold things, and it's tight. It's really tight, and is now, and what one of the things she told me is that because my pelvic floor has been doing all the work, other muscles around it are like she said, your glutes are like, oh, pelvic floor's got this. I don't need to work. So like it's affecting other muscle areas around it because everything's connected, right? So I just starting to realize that too. And just with this little like tornado of goodness I have going on, I'm going to call it a tornado because it's like a good thing. It's like a whirlwind and it's all just coming up. I just feel like I have inner clarity
There you go.
around other little tiny things that I've been holding on to. I guess I'm going through like a letting go process. It's easier. It's starting to make more sense. For whatever reason, blocks are being lifted and it feels really good. And I know I wouldn't have that unless I had my recovery from not only substances, but also food addiction. Like that was really holding me back. Next step is still complete stimulants. Emily, I read your email. I'm like, freaking another sign that I need to quit coffee.
It was hard.
I'm working up to it. But this other stuff getting cluttered out and released in my life, I know that's coming, and it's going to allow me to have the strength to do it, and it won't be as hard. I just can feel it. So, and thank you for that email because it really helped me. Reading that really helped. So
No problem. No problem. And honestly, I really think that it is foundational to get to, like Chris said, get to my right mind, so that you can navigate these changes and navigate these things. And so when you're all cluttered up with sugar and processed foods in your brain, it's like you become paralyzed and you're like, I don't know which decision to make first or next. And so I'm just not going to make any, so there is that inner clarity that comes. Thank you so much. I love that example, Andia. Next we have Monica. She had a miraculous situation happen at was it at a thrift store? Well, it wasn't at the thrift store that it happened, but you had a
combination of things. And dear, you're going to get me in so much trouble because yes, I've been looking on Toxi-Free. Yes, I downloaded the plastic guide that I saw yesterday. And now you're talking about these markers to a special education teacher who is using dry erase markers every day, all day. So I need to know about those markers because I definitely keep fragrances and things out of my classroom because of the population. I mean, I would do it with any students, but because of the population that I teach, and they already come with their own challenges. So I need to know about those markers. But I have switched to glass and stainless steel a long time ago, just for things for me being attention deficit, my daughter being ADHD, and just trying to get our house as chemical free as possible. And so I needed some bakeware. I was in a thrift store, saw some PYREX pieces, thought, wow, these are thick, these are heavy, but I didn't buy them. And I guess God was letting me know, you should have bought them. So later that day, I'm watching a YouTube video. The girl is doing freezer meals. And she talked about the reason she had so many 13x9 glassware pans was because she bought them at the thrift store. And I could see the first comment below her video. And the person was saying to her, Did you know there was 2 types of PYREX? There's a PYREX that is all capital letters, and there's a PYREX that is all lowercase letters. And so I got to researching because I remembered when I looked at the containers that were there, they were 8x8 pans and loaf pans. They were capital letter PYREX. And so I started doing my research because I'm an educator and I love to educate myself. And what basically, to sort of quickly summarize, originally PYREX was made out of borosilicate glass. This glass was the strongest glass available. It was able to go from quick temperature changes, meaning you could put it in the freezer, you could take it out of the freezer, you could put it in your oven, you could take it out of the freezer, you could put it in your microwave. When Corning got sold, PYREX was trademarked with it, so the name stayed, but they went to lowercase PYREX and they switched it to soda lime glass. 1, it was cheaper. 2, soda lime, from what I read, is not supposed to shatter as easily as the borosilicate glass. And so it's thinner, it's not as much material, but it also can't take that quick temperature change. So if you have a PYREX measuring cup, you might have to be careful putting boiling water in it. Maybe your microwave use of it, depending on the temperature that it started as. But I wanted to go further. I wanted to go deeper. I wanted to understand about these 2 substances. And so in just changing my Google search and tweaking it, I did come across some articles that talked about the fact that even though both of these types of glass are considered toxin-free, with the soda lime glass, you can have some leaching of what they refer to as a non-toxic substance if you are using acidic items in it, if it is being left in the sun where it is exposed to that extreme heat, if you're using it, I guess, to bake with at high temperatures and that type of thing. So if you can find the original pieces with the capital PYREX that are the borosilicate glass, that is 100% toxic free from everything that I read. But of course, I would encourage everybody to do their own research. I do often see those pieces when I go in the thrift store. I've just never thought to look at them or pick them up, but I will be adding to that as far as, you know, my cookware, my bakeware. It's just another layer of keeping the food for me and my daughter in the safest possible scenario. We're spending money on our food, prices are going up. And whether you're having, you know, regular beef from Walmart or grass-fed, grass-finished beef from whomever, we still are looking to have our food be healing to us. And it would be a shame to know that we are taking away a layer of healing by what we are preparing our food in or storing our food in. And so I just wanted to share that because I thought that that was also an important part of our healing journeys, and this particular meeting being about our food. How we are preparing our food can be just as important, and how we're storing it. So I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
So true. So true. Anything that you wanted to add, Andia?
Yeah. So if Monica, I put a question in the chat. Do you remember what the chemical is that the soda lime glass can leach? Like, even though they consider it non-toxic, it does turn toxic if it's at high temperatures, etc.
I do not recall if they gave a specific chemical name. I just recall that it said can leach non-toxic. And I thought, well, why would I want anything leached into my food from something else? I want to put in my food what I want in my food. I don't want anything leaching into it if you're using that term, that connotation does not sound positive.
Yeah. I did not know this. So thank you for being my teacher today. This is awesome. I am so my mom and my sister and I, we have back home in Minnesota, we have a thrift store. And like, I grew up on hand-me-downs and all the things. And I'm 100% believer that back in the day, things were more well made. And so this just aligns and is another testament to that. They used to make things that were safe for us, and going back to use it. And I love that because that's sustainable, and I'm definitely gonna be keeping in my eye out for the Capital PYREX when next time I'm in the thrift store, because I will say that I was at an estate sale and I bought a glass PYREX and I was like, if you didn't know this, you can take vegetable glycerin and you can preserve your eucalyptus. So I have eucalyptus hanging in my showers, and to preserve it, if you soak it in the vegetable glycerin and water for like, I think a week, vegetable glycerin goes up into the eucalyptus and it preserves it. So I was making this mixture and I was like, I'm going to use my estate sale beautiful PYREX bowl. Y'all, I let the water boil. I poured in the vegetable glycerin, shattered all over my kitchen, because guess what? Don't know now, but I bet you 100% it was lowercase PYREX. And that was terrifying for me because I have trauma around broken glass from my drug use and from my hand going through a window. And so that was, traumatizing, but I did it. I cleaned up the glass, y'all. I touched it and I cleaned it up. So that's a huge step for me to clean it up. And my husband wasn't around, but I just thank you so much for this information. And yeah, if you have any questions about the other stuff, I'll put a link to the markers in the chat and a link to the clayware. It is amazing. These people hand do this clayware. There's absolutely no toxins in it, and it's an investment. And I cannot tell you how much I love my beautiful cookware. I'm working on getting the plates and everything will be that kind of cookware. And I'll share it in the chat, but I hate to be the bearer of bad news, because sometimes I am doing this, talking about toxic-free stuff. So stainless steel, Laura actually just learned this and shared it, I think, on her Instagram, and she had talked to me about it. Stainless steel over time, like when we use it a lot, it will eventually leak nickel, and nickel is toxic. So just what that has taught me is that I'm going to be mindful of how many years I use how old is some of my stainless steel pieces, and switch them out, because stainless steel is, it is toxic free, but just over a long period of time, it will eventually leach nickel, which was very unfortunate to learn, but it's now it's in our awareness. We can't unsee it, right? Same with the Capital PYREX. We can't unsee what Monica taught us today. This is what it's about. So now we have this knowledge. Will we make that shift, or will we not make the shift? And how long will it take? And it's all okay, because it takes however long it takes. But I just love this conversation. I love having these conversations. And it all boils down to being right in, like, for me anyway, like being right with my food path and not being addicted anymore. Because if I was still in that old space, I wouldn't be able to do all of this other work. So this kind of ties back to my update, but this is just so awesome that you're where that led you, Monica, like to thinking and all that. And I'm excited for you to get the wax crayons. You're gonna love them. I'm so excited for you.
Thank you. And I just want to quickly say, because I went back and I tried to look, and what it basically said was that soda lime can leach and absorb nasty chemicals over time, which becomes a problem if you want to use it for storing food, or if you happen to leave your glass jar or water bottle in direct sunlight. So it didn't give specific chemicals, and I forgot the absorb part. So it can leach and absorb over time. And so I would imagine, just like you were saying with the stainless steel, over time, if you have materials, which soda lime glass is very popular, maybe we need to realize that we have to switch these things out, especially depending on what we're storing in it.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. And I gotta kick it to Amy for just a second, because you're making a shift in your channel. And would you have ever made this shift in your channel if you were eating sugar and processed foods?
I wouldn't think so. Nope, probably not. I mean, if I was still eating sugar and processed foods, I would not be able to function or think, honestly, because my fear and my anxiety when I was on the sugar and processed foods was almost uncontrollable, which is why I was medicated. But being medicated, it just suppressed me so much that I didn't know what joy actually was, because it keeps you from getting depressed, but it also keeps you from getting happy. So it kind of boxes you in there. I can't even imagine what my life would look like.
And to be planning ahead. You were just trying to survive every day.
Every moment. And I remember trying to think, I was like, how am I ever going to get enough medicine to last me if we end up having a wildfire and it, takes out, when we were in California, that was our biggest concern, was the wildfires. And then in Florida, it was the hurricanes. And what if, the roads are closed and we can't get to our pharmacy and I can't get my medications? I was like, I am going to go insane. I tried like halving my medicines, and I tried like saving some of them up because I was so terrified about that. Looking into the future was like it was terrifying. And now I look to the future and it's like, oh, what could I do about that? Because I'm not going to live by fear. I'm going to live in power. What can I actually affect? What can I do? So that's where I am now. And I love it. It's so exciting.
That's incredible. That's incredible. Well, I love all the things that I'm learning on Carnivore's Angel on your YouTube channel. And all of the, you're literally like paving the way for some of us, you're going forward, and inspiring us and giving us ideas. I look back and I hear your stories from before, and I'm like, what a gift to this world Amy is, and how we could have missed out. We could have missed out on this. And then I look at all of you, I look at every one of my followers. I look at every one of my subscribers on YouTube. How many Amy's are in there? How many Chris's are in there? How many Andias and Monicas and Ricardos? How many of them are in there that are covered up by anxiety and depression and medication and addiction to everything, addiction to sugar and processed foods? And they are literally a gift to this world. They just need to have that junk removed off of them so that they can walk in their inner clarity and that they can be who they were designed to be. And it makes me so excited. And I hate to go back to your past, Amy, but I think it's so important because people look at us and they think, yeah, she's got it all together. We didn't always. We were a hot mess. We were a wreck. We were meth addicts. We were overeaters. We were this, we were that. And it was a process that for me started with food. It started with a knowing. that I couldn't continue the way I was continuing. And so anybody who's listening, either here live or anyone who's listening to the replay, you're not hopeless and you're not broken. You're just covered up. You just got some stuff on you. And all it takes is one layer at a time. Just like Andia talked about, it was a process. It wasn't something that she just like, dun, 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 like it's the weekend and I'm going to drink some coffee and I'm going to get it all done. It was a process. It was years. It was retraining your thinking, retraining your mind to let go of certain switches that you had to make. And it's still a process. I'm not who I was 6 months ago. I'm not who I was yesterday. Like, it is a continuous process. And at first that was like, oh my gosh, is this ever going to end? Like, do I have to keep learning? Do I have to keep getting better? But now it's like, oh, cool. It's another day. I get a whole nother layer of healing. I get a whole nother layer of understanding. I get a whole nother layer of clarity. And it just doesn't stop. And so now I'm excited that it doesn't stop. I'm excited that I keep getting better every day. And I want to encourage everybody to start where you're at. Listen to Carnivore's Angel, follow Toxie Free. There's so many resources out there. And I would say also to let go of the things that don't feel good. I'm sure he's going to hate that I say this publicly, but my 14-year-old came to me this week and he said, Mom, I closed down my TikTok account. And I'm not judging TikTok. I'm not saying anything about TikTok at all. But for him, I was like, you like paused it? And he was like, no, I completely shut it down. And I deleted it. I go, okay. Why? He goes, I just didn't get good vibes from it. And I was like, like every mother's dream. And so if you are listening to someone or something and you're not getting good vibes from it, you don't have to listen to it. You are a grown adult and you can say next. You can stop listening to it. If you're listening to something and it's causing you anxiety and you're like, oh, the sky is falling, the world is falling apart, blah, blah, blah. You don't have to listen to that. Listen to the things that give you peace, that give you hope, that give you joy, that give you empowerment, that give you power. There are so many things it's like a buffet. Like, it's all before you. And so nobody's sitting here going, you have to choose this. If you don't choose this, you're failing in life. No, you can just go, that's not for me. I'm going to choose this. I feel better on this. I feel better on that. And yes, I'm talking about food, but I'm also talking about what we input into our eyes, into our ears, into our environment. And thank you so much for everyone here. Does anyone else have anything that they want to add? Nope. All right. Awesome. Thank you so much. You guys have a great week. And I enjoy so much having these conversations. Talk to you next Saturday.